Hey friends, so you may have heard over the weekend that Donald Trump worked at a McDonald's for 15 or 20 minutes, but that's not the point of this video. In that video, in one of the videos, a woman said something very interesting. She said, don't let them make the United States into Brazil. Don't let them turn the United States back into Brazil, where she had come from. And I think that this warning really deserves a little bit deeper of a dive. Not only did she bring this up, but then also the person that she was referring to, the ex-president of Brazil, responded to that woman's call to Donald Trump. And I think that we need to take a little trip down memory lane as to how the United States could have gone if we had taken a little bit different of a turn. As scary as it is, things could have gone so much worse here in the United States, and all we have to do is look over at Brazil as to what happened. We're going to be talking about ex-president of Brazil, Bolsonaro. I believe I'm getting that correctly, or at least remotely correctly. Let me introduce you to this guy who is called the Trump of the South. This is his very biased Wikipedia article. You can just read between the lines and let me know if you're like, this guy sounds familiar. He was also responsible for a broad dismantling of cultural, scientific, and educational government programs. In addition to promoting repeated attacks on democratic institutions and spreading fake news, his government was responsible for a significant reduction in bureaucracy and modernization of public systems. With the fast-paced digitization of federal public services through the creation of the digital platform gov.br, Bolsonaro also sanctioned the Economic Freedom Act, reducing bureaucracy in economic activities and facilitating the opening and operation of businesses throughout the country, which proved very beneficial, especially to small businesses. During his administration, crime dropped across the country and unemployment rates slowly fell, with the Brazilian GDP showing a moderate growth rate averaging 1.5% per year. At the same time, job insecurity, inflation, and hunger also increased, while per capita income, social inequality, and poverty reached its worst levels since 2012. So, as you can see from that very biased article, you hear some of the same attacks, don't you? Jair Bolsonaro sounds very much like the same things we heard about Donald Trump. So, this woman pulls up in the drive-thru. It was somewhat scheduled or whatever. It was controlled who was getting in there, but I don't think they intended for her to say this, especially with how Donald Trump kind of responded. He stayed on message. He didn't really respond to her, but he kind of did. He said, yeah, we're going to make America great again, but he didn't make any comments about Brazil. So Jair Bolsonaro actually thanked the Brazilian woman who brought this up. And why is that? So back in 2022, the political system, and by the political system, I mean the judicial system of Brazil, went after Bolsonaro. And what they did to him was unbelievably dirty. If you think the court cases against Donald Trump right now are outrageous and ridiculous, wait until you hear what the Supreme Court, of Brazil, this is just, I mean, I know it's kind of a third world country, but still, when you hear this stuff, it's just so outrageous. They banned Bolsonaro from running for office for 8 years. I mean, how naked can you get in your political prosecution of somebody? It's like, yeah, you're not really a criminal, but like, you're not allowed to run for office for 8 years. Meanwhile, his opponent, who's actually been charged with corruption, with taking bribes, and even someone like that in the United States is banned from actually being in office. But not in Brazil. You can be corrupt. But what was his crime? Well, He is banned from running from office for till 2030. 8 years due to his, quote, baseless attacks on the country's electronic voting system and for plotting a coup. And it, not just banned from running for political office, but also in order to prevent witness tampering, he cannot talk to the head of his political party. So he's not allowed to have any communication whatsoever, in person, electronic, nothing, with the head of his political party. Because, democracy and stuff. So Trump made the campaign stop at the McDonald's in Pennsylvania, working fries. And and she said, please don't let the United States become Brazil, my native Brazil. Trump replied that he would make America better than ever. So Bolsonaro replied back to this, congratulations to this Brazilian. The struggle is all of ours. So listen to this. We got the Supreme Court of Brazil. Now, you may have also heard these guys come up once or twice recently due to their heavy-handed attacks on Twitter, because you can't have free speech in Brazil. No, you can't have that. And so they went after Twitter. And not only did they go after Twitter, but when Twitter is just like, okay, fine, go after us, they then went after SpaceX, which is not the same company. It's like, if you don't like Facebook and you decide, hey, we're just going to attack, Ford Motors as well. It's just like they're not connected. Though in this case, the reason why they think they're connected is because the CEO of both companies is Elon Musk. And that's who they're really going after. Because if this guy is the Trump of the South and Elon Musk is kind of pro-Trump, well then obviously they can do whatever they want to do to go after Elon Musk. And that means going after independent companies that have nothing to do with each other. So, the Supreme Court of Brazil is called the Supreme Federal Tribunal. Now, if you are trying to create a fascist-sounding organization, this is pretty good, isn't it? Supreme Federal Tribunal. If Trump proposed setting up a Supreme Federal Tribunal inside the United States, do you think that would terrify a few people? I think a few people that have promised to move to Canada would actually move to Canada, because it just sounds really, really bad. It sounds like a place that people from, Germany fled to after the war. Yeah, I know that's mostly Argentina, but you get the idea. So they, being packed, this Supreme Court, the Supreme Federal Tribunal, being packed with leftists who don't have any censors, don't have anyone to rein them in, have ordered violent police raids of individuals' homes for allegedly unacceptable speech and other non-crimes. So they said things that they didn't like. So they ordered SWAT raids on their homes. Yes, this is exactly where we could have gone, the United States, if the Supreme Court had just been packed the other way around. 8 of the 11 justices on the STF, currently appointed by leftists. A persecution campaign against alleged fake news. The head of this, de Moraes, who Elon Musk has talked about a little bit, Alexandre de Moraes, ordered a series of violent raids against YouTube commentators, violent people like me who say things that they shouldn't, journalists, and comedians, because obviously, this was actually because they were funny. Okay, I understand violent raids on comedians' homes that aren't funny, but in this case, they were too funny. They were funny enough to undermine the power of the government, so therefore they had to be taken out. And others who allegedly spread fake news. Now, if you have a comedian who's spreading fake news, that's kind of like their job, right? I mean, that's like the definition of their job. They tell jokes. Nearly all of them Bolsonaro supporters. Conservatives denounced the action as illegal and abusive. I'm taking enough out of this article. I better tell you where this is coming from. This is coming from Breitbart, written by Francis Martel. Fantastic article, and I am leaning heavily on a bunch of this as I'm reading some of this stuff to you. I don't want you to think that I'm coming up with that. I want to give credit to where credit is due. So they're going after YouTube commentators, comedians, journalists. They took out this entire political party by banning their top ticket holder from running for any kind of political office for 8 years. Why? Because he raised questions about how things were conducted. Is that it? No. Worse than all that, one of the highest profile victims of de Moraes, Alexandre de Moraes, prosecution was former Congressman Daniel Silveira, who was arrested while still serving in Congress. So they went after a sitting congressman in Brazil, ordered his arrest, claiming that he threatened violence against the court in a critical rant against the court posted on YouTube. Bolsonaro, still president at the time, while the STF was going after him and his supporters, he pardoned him. So he gets charged by the STF, the Supreme Court of Brazil. The president pardons him, saying basically that, that was constitutionally protected free speech. But then the Supreme Court came back and said, we're going to overturn that pardon. That's how crazy this thing has gotten. So he's been in prison since 2023. And then he was moved this past October to an agricultural labor camp, because that's what you do with congressmen, is that you send them to labor camps for speeches they gave. Can you think of any Congress people that may have said something that should have them sent to a labor camp, in your opinion? And then you said, wait, no, this is the United States and this is a free country, or wherever you're from. We don't do that sort of thing here. Well, in Brazil, they do that sort of thing. You can send Congress people that say things that you don't like to labor camps. You can take YouTubers and throw them into prison. You can swat them legally in the hopes that perhaps they may just not make it to trial. Comedians. When they go after the comedians, you know that the country has taken a very dark turn when the comedians are not free to say and to mock whoever they will. So here is where we are. And because of all this, we have a woman going through a McDonald's drive-thru saying to Donald Trump, please don't let the United States become Brazil, my native Brazil. And that, friends, is a dire warning from a woman who understood and understands what has happened in Brazil and what could so easily happen inside the United States. I know some of you guys are saying, it's all rigged, I'm not going to vote. I'm here to tell you, please vote. Please make it hard. Please make it hard on the riggers. Please make it hard on them, as hard as possible. Your voting does not endorse the system. I promise you. Take the time, vote. Do it anyway. I don't care if you're like, it doesn't matter. Now, if you're in a state where you're like, oh, well, my state's definitely going to vote this way or it's definitely going to vote that way. Friends, if this comes down to a legal fight, I promise you every single number out there on every single state is going to become relevant in the argument. The less they win certain states by will be arguments being used. The more that he wins other states will be used as arguments. And so what I'm saying is, wherever you are, run up the score if you're in a red state. And do your best to keep us on the scoreboard if you're in a blue state. And if you're in a battleground state like I am, I'm burning myself out here on the Camino, because I am going to be back November 4th, back in the U.S., so that on November 5th, not only will I be able to vote, but I'm also going to try to get you some exclusive stories from the Pittsburgh area, because it is that important. This is, I know they say it every time that this is the most important election of our lifetime, but it truly, truly is. This woman gave the warning. And if you hear the history of what has happened in Brazil, what is currently happening in Brazil, you'll know that when they elected a person convicted of corruption, of taking bribes, and using his office to further himself financially, that guy got back into office. But the guy who said mean things has been kicked out of office, banned from running for office, and all of his supporters have been persecuted, prosecuted, and sent to labor camps. That's where we could go. And this YouTube commentator, though not so much of a comedian, doesn't want to go to a labor camp. And friends, I plead with you. If not for the guy that's running for office, if not for your country, then if you for some reason find it more agreeable to vote just so that Steve Poplar doesn't end up in a labor camp, well then go for that. But whatever you do, please vote, help others to vote, and encourage others to vote. And as you have opportunity to have conversations about who people should vote for, take those opportunities, be likable, be winnable, and if people just aren't willing to listen, well then, back off. Or go for it if you want to. I don't know. Just be safe in whatever you do, because some of these people are a little bit loose up there. All right, friends, thanks so much for watching, and hopefully this little lesson in what has happened in Brazil will open your eyes and has been enlightening to you, encouraging or motivating to you. All right, friends, thanks so much for watching. If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up here. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Steve Poplar of The Poplar Report, out.